Ever wish you could just hit pause on like all the craziness of life and, just find a little more peace?
Yeah.
Well, you're in luck because today we're diving into the world of meditation
Right.
and specifically how it can help unlock real happiness.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to be exploring Sharon Salzberg's audiobook, Real Happiness,
Right.
which you, our listener, were
Yeah.
curious about.
It's really interesting, because while meditation has ancient roots,
Yeah.
Salzburg presents it in a way that's really relevant to you know, our modern lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, think of it as a mental gym for happiness, a way to train your mind
Yeah.
for, greater peace and resilience, just like you would train your body at the gym.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I like where this is going. But
Yeah.
let's be honest, meditation can be a little intimidating sometimes.
It can.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
do I need to sit in a cave for hours and
Right.
like empty my mind?
That's such a common misconception.
Yeah.
And Salzburg addresses it right away.
Okay.
She busts those myths wide open.
Yeah.
Meditation is not about stopping your thoughts altogether.
Oh.
It's more about changing your relationship with those thoughts.
Okay.
So it's about becoming the observer,
Yeah.
the watcher of your thoughts and your feelings
Yeah.
without getting swept away by them.
So it's like creating space between you and
Exactly.
all that inner chatter
Yeah.
instead of trying to like silence it completely.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. And Salzberg highlights that this shift in perspective
Uh-huh.
has some pretty amazing benefits.
Mm.
And it's not just some new age idea.
Yeah.
We're talking real science-backed changes in the brain.
Oh, wow.
Reduce stress and anxiety,
Right.
better focus,
Wow.
even increased compassion. These are all linked to a regular meditation practice.
So that's pretty compelling.
Yeah.
Pretty compelling reasons to try it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for someone just starting out, what does meditation even look like?
Right.
Is it all about chanting and incense?
Not at all.
Okay.
Salzberg breaks it down into 3 key skills:
Okay.
concentration, mindfulness, and compassion.
Got it.
And each one of those builds on the other,
Okay.
almost like levels in a game.
Okay.
So you start with concentration,
Mm-hmm.
which she describes as the foundation.
Right. So how do we level up our
Yeah.
concentration?
It's all about focusing on a single point.
Okay.
And for beginners,
Yeah.
the breath is a great anchor.
Okay.
You simply observe the breath as it flows in and out,
Yeah.
noticing any distractions that come up, like thoughts, sounds, sensations,
Yeah.
and then you gently guide your attention back to the breath.
So if I start thinking about,
Yeah.
my grocery list
Yep.
or that email I need to send,
Right.
does that mean I failed at meditation?
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
In fact, getting distracted is totally normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the process.
Oh.
The key is in that gentle redirection.
Okay.
The moment you realize you've drifted off,
Yeah.
and then you choose to come back to the breath,
Yeah.
that's where the real training happens.
So it's less about never getting distracted and more about strengthening that, come back muscle.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this skill of being able to refocus after getting sidetracked is so valuable, not just in meditation,
Right.
but in life too.
Totally.
Think about how many times a day you get pulled away from a task
Mm-hmm.
or lose your cool in a stressful situation.
For sure.
This is where that concentration training really shines.
Okay. So I'm starting to see how this can be beneficial beyond just sitting on a cushion.
Yeah,
Now, what about mindfulness?
right.
It seems like everyone's talking about it these days, but
Yeah.
what does it actually mean?
Mindfulness is about expanding your awareness
Okay.
beyond just the breath
Mm-hmm.
to include your thoughts, feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and even physical sensations.
Okay.
And the key, as Salzberg explains,
Yeah.
is to observe these things
Mm-hmm.
without judgment,
Okay.
simply noticing them as they arise and pass away,
Yeah.
like clouds in the sky.
So it's not about trying to force myself to only have positive thoughts
Well, I think-
or ignore the negative ones.
You got it. In fact, often we create more suffering
Uh-huh.
by trying to control our thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is about accepting them as they are
Okay.
without getting caught up in the storyline that we often create around them.
She gives a great example of this in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You feel a twinge of pain,
Mm-hmm.
and instantly your mind jumps to, oh no, this is going to last forever. What if it gets worse?
Right.
And we pile on all this extra suffering in our thoughts.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Mindfulness allows us to see that initial pain,
Mm.
acknowledge it,
Yeah.
and then choose how we want to respond, rather than getting swept away by that cascade of anxious thoughts.
So we can choose how we respond instead of just
Yeah.
being reactive. This is really resonating with me. So we've got concentration.
Right.
You've got mindfulness.
Yeah.
But what about the third skill? Compassion. Does
Okay.
that mean I suddenly have to love everyone and everything?
Well, that's a great question.
Okay.
And the perfect segue to the next part of our deep dive.
All right, listener, hang tight. We'll be right back to explore this fascinating world of
Yeah,
compassion and how it ties into this journey of real happiness
absolutely.
through meditation.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were starting to get into this really fascinating world of meditation with Sharon Salzberg's audiobook, Real Happiness.
Right.
So we've tackled, like concentration and mindfulness.
Uh-huh.
Now, on to compassion.
Mm-hmm.
What does that even look like in like a meditation practice?
Passion in meditation isn't about forcing yourself to feel all lovey-dovey toward everything.
Okay.
It's more about cultivating a sense of kindness,
Mm-hmm.
toward yourself and others, recognizing that we all struggle. We all experience, pain and joy, and that connects us all.
Salzberg has this amazing guided meditation in the audiobook
Mm-hmm.
where you actually start by like sending compassion to yourself.
Yeah.
It sounds cheesy, but it's actually really powerful.
Yeah.
Like giving yourself permission to be imperfect,
Right.
to have those bad days and still be worthy of kindness.
It's a key part of the practice.
Yeah,
Often we're much harder on ourselves than we would ever be on a friend.
totally.
Salzburg challenges us to, like, extend the same gentleness
Mm.
and understanding that we would offer someone we care about to
That's
ourselves.
so true. We'd never like berate a friend for making a mistake,
Right.
but we do it to ourselves all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So how does this self-compassion practice translate into like real life situations?
It helps us be more forgiving,
Okay.
not just of ourselves, but of others as well.
Okay.
When we understand our own struggles,
Yeah.
we can start to see the struggles of others with more empathy.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind. Always.
Yeah. That's a beautiful reminder. But what about those times when it's really hard to be compassionate?
Yeah.
Like when someone's being like totally unreasonable or hurtful.
Right.
Does Salzburg have any advice for like navigating those situations?
She does.
Okay.
And it absolutely ties back to mindfulness.
Okay.
So instead of reacting immediately,
Yeah.
we can take a pause, observe our own emotions,
Mhm.
and then choose a response that aligns with our values.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we condone bad behavior,
Right.
but it allows us to approach the situation with more clarity and wisdom.
So instead of getting swept up in like the anger or frustration,
Exactly.
we can use that space between like the stimulus and our reaction
Yeah,
to choose a more skillful response.
exactly. And Salzburg provides some really helpful techniques for working with, those difficult emotions.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting is what she calls noting.
Okay.
It involves simply labeling the emotion as it arises.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're feeling angry, you might mentally say to yourself, anger, anger.
Okay, so how does just like saying the word anger actually help?
It creates a little bit of distance between you and the emotion.
Okay.
It's like you're stepping back and observing it rather than getting completely consumed by it.
Okay.
So this detachment allows you to see the anger more clearly and choose how you want to respond.
So it's almost like you're taking the power away from the emotion by simply like acknowledging its presence.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And the more you practice this, the less reactive you become.
Okay.
It's like training your mind to be more resilient in the face of challenges.
So we're training the mind to be less reactive.
Yeah.
I love how Salzberg emphasizes that meditation isn't about like becoming some emotionless robot. It's about learning to like experience the full range of human emotions,
Exactly.
but with more awareness and skill.
Exactly. And, the more we practice mindfulness, the more we start to appreciate
Yeah.
those little
Wow.
things, those moments of joy and beauty that we often miss when our minds are racing.
She has this great exercise in the book
Yeah.
where she encourages you to find something pleasurable in each day.
Right.
Even if it's something as simple as like the taste of your morning coffee or the feel of the sun on your skin.
Absolutely.
It's about training your mind to notice and savor those good moments rather than letting them slip away unnoticed.
Yeah. It's a great way to cultivate gratitude and shift your focus away from, what's missing or what's wrong.
Speaking of what's wrong, Salzberg also talks about those like pesky obstacles to happiness,
Yeah.
the hindrances, as she calls them.
Yeah.
What are those exactly? And how does meditation help us deal with them?
She identifies 5 main hindrances: desire, aversion, sloth, and torpor. restlessness, and doubt.
Okay.
These are states of mind that can really cloud our judgment and keep us from, like, experiencing true happiness.
Okay. I think we've all been there at some point.
Hmm.
But how does meditation actually help?
Right.
It's not like it magically makes those feelings disappear.
Not at all. It's about learning to recognize those hindrances as they arise,
Okay.
to see their patterns and tendencies.
Yeah.
And through mindfulness, we can choose how we want to relate to them.
Okay.
Do we want to get, like, swept away by that wave of desire or aversion?
Yeah.
Or can we gently observe it and let it pass?
So it's like we're becoming like detectives of our own minds.
Exactly.
Setting these hindrances with like curiosity and detachment rather than judgment.
Exactly. And the more we understand them, the less power they have over us. We start to see that these are simply like temporary states of mind. They don't define us.
That's a powerful realization. Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear from you, our listener.
Yes.
What are some of the specific challenges you face when trying to meditate?
Yeah.
Or if you're new to this, like, what are your biggest questions or concerns? It's fascinating, isn't it, how we often spend so much time trying to avoid those difficult emotions.
It is, yeah.
Like they're these unwelcome guests
All right.
we're constantly trying to like shut out.
Yeah.
But Salzberg suggests a completely different approach.
She does.
Yeah.
She encourages us to actually lean into those challenging emotions.
Okay.
To explore them with a sense of curiosity and compassion.
Okay.
Almost like we're welcoming them in for tea rather than like slamming the door in their face.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's like instead of seeing them as the enemy, we
Yeah.
can start to view them as like messengers,
Exactly.
opportunities for growth and understanding.
Exactly. And she uses this beautiful image of a still pool of water
Oh.
reflecting the moon.
Oh.
And when our minds are agitated, that reflection is all distorted.
Yeah.
We can barely make out the moon.
Mm-hmm.
But through meditation,
Yeah.
as we cultivate stillness,
Okay.
the water becomes clear.
Yeah.
And we see the true moon,
Okay.
the true nature of our experience.
It's like all those ripples of thought and emotion.
Yeah.
They start to settle and we can finally see things as they really are.
Yeah. And that clarity
Yeah.
allows us to respond to challenges in a more skillful way.
Okay.
And it's not about suppressing those difficult emotions. It's about creating a space between the feeling and our reaction
Okay.
so we can make conscious choices.
So we're not just sitting on a cushion feeling our feelings,
Right.
but we're actually like developing tools that we
Yeah.
can use in our daily lives
Right.
to navigate those inevitable ups and downs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Salzberg emphasizes that the real benefits of meditation unfold in those moments when you're
Yeah.
stuck in traffic or
Yeah.
having a disagreement with a loved one
Yeah.
or facing a stressful deadline at work.
Mm-hmm.
It's in those moments that you can tap into that inner stillness
Okay.
you've cultivated through practice
Yeah.
and choose a more skillful response.
You know, one of the things that really stood out to me in the audiobook is Salzberg's emphasis on self-compassion.
Oh, yeah.
It's something I think a lot of us struggle with, being
Yeah.
kind to ourselves, especially when we make mistakes.
Yeah, it's so true. And she doesn't just talk about it abstractly.
Yeah.
She gives you like practical tools, like that guided meditation where you repeat phrases of kindness to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
It might feel a bit awkward at first,
Yeah.
but it can be incredibly powerful.
I actually tried it, and I was surprised by how much resistance I felt at first. It was like a part of me didn't believe I deserved those kind words.
Yeah, that's a common experience.
Yeah.
We're so used to criticizing ourselves, but Salzberg challenges us to flip the script
Yeah.
and treat ourselves with the same compassion we'd offer a dear friend.
Yeah, it's like we're rewiring our brains for
Yes.
kindness,
Yeah.
not just towards ourselves, but
Right.
towards others as well.
That's the beautiful ripple effect of this practice.
I love that.
As we cultivate more compassion for ourselves,
Yeah.
it naturally extends outwards to those around us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive
Yeah.
into real happiness, what are some key takeaways
Yeah.
for you, our listener? What's resonating most deeply?
For me, it's the reminder that meditation isn't about achieving some perfect state of bliss.
Right.
It's about showing up each day,
Yeah.
breath after breath,
Mm-hmm.
and gently cultivating those skills of concentration, mindfulness, and compassion.
And those skills, like any muscle,
Yeah.
get stronger with practice.
Yeah.
Some days your mind will be calm and focused. Other
Right.
days it'll be a complete whirlwind.
Oh,
The real practice is in that gentle return,
yeah.
in the willingness to begin again without judgment.
And as Salzberg so beautifully puts it, real happiness isn't something we find outside ourselves
Yeah.
in possessions or achievements. It's something we cultivate from within, moment by moment, breath by breath.
I love that. So keep exploring those practices.
Yeah.
Keep returning to that space of stillness
Mhm.
and see what transformations unfold in your life.
And remember, you have everything you need to embark on this journey of real happiness.
Yeah.
Just start with a single breath and see where it leads you.